Mencha cho bibia na misa mo bibia kwa ba bi memfambra nkasa TV so nkasa kase ebo so na edru sisi a meso so be subscribe to my channel like if for agent so good comment section be hwe me be kinkan bibia mo fefe yembo wura ni nsem ntentem ya ye Afenyo Markins na de sanse me abeto abonti ye ni Afenyo Markins no oye minority leader edema MPP amanu New Patriotic Party na busianfo de abeto abonti aba okopie mo parliament che se nkɔfoɔ bi akɔ atake no party sɛ to the extent sɛ ɔmo tutuo sɛ ɔmo de bɔ ne nyinaa yɛpɛ sɛ yɛkɔ akɔtie nsɛm a ɔde to abɔnten ɛkɔba yɛba abɛtoa so deɛ obi bi ase.
Today appears to be a day for the first timers. Clearly, what it means is that this chamber has a great future where you have first timers and some senior members making a statement and hearing contributions. Mr. Speaker, before I get into my own contributions, I want to remind colleagues that we need to exercise, because when we stand, we have to stand upright and make our statement. People are always bending. It means you can't stand on your waist. No, you need to stand. Whether a lady or gentleman, stand firm. If there's a problem, let's exercise. We have to exercise so that when we're on our feet, we're able to stand very firm and upright.
Honorable Minority Leader, the statement before us is on social justice.
That is true, Mr. Speaker. A good health will contribute to. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the honorable members who made this statement drew our attention to a number of issues affecting society. Mr. Speaker, I would want to adopt the three statements from the members as though same were coming from me and rely on all of them for records. Except to say that, Mr. Speaker, I don't want this House to be drawn into the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. That conflict has its own history, and we need to be very cautious in drawing that conflict into our discussion in this House floor. And it's for the reason that I believe Honorable Gansa, although his statement was well intended, the way it came up, it created a certain impression. And I just want the record to reflect that this House is not taking sides in that conflict. We only pray that there will be justice for all in that enclave. So, Speaker, each day in my prayer, I pray for peace in the Middle East, guided by St. Francis of Assisi's prayer. I, being a Catholic, I always rely on that important prayer by St. Francis, where he calls for the Lord to make us an instrument of his peace. So, Mr. Speaker, our prayer is that wherever there is injustice, the God Almighty himself, the Lord Almighty himself, would lead the discussions that will lead to peace, so that there will be fairness for all. Mr. Speaker, the first maker of the statement, the respected member Nakoyo Kuno of Awutu Senya East. Mr. Speaker, she shared her own experiences. Mr. Speaker, we need to take steps as a people to address the way we do politics in this country. Some of us don't tell our stories, but we all know the things sometimes we go through. The attacks, the unfair treatment, the way we are manhandled, and all. But it appears that sometimes when injustice benefits somebody, the person is in a hurry to go to God, to church, to thank God, and sees him as blessing. But when the next day he is at the receiving end, you see the person crying for people to save him. For how long should that continue in our country? I have my own experience in Winneba in 2012. It took the Lord's intervention for me to be here. Somebody came to a close range with a pistol, all because I was campaigning. And I was lucky that he couldn't shoot. I don't know the mystery and the miracle behind it. Close range. I went through other situations that time will not permit me to recount. People are suffering injustice. Sometimes even our judiciary, the way our judges approach cases that come before them. For my years at the bar, I know that when there is an application pending before a court of justice will always deal with that interrogatory matter before coming to the substantive matter and ensure that there is fairness. For my years of practice, I know that when there is an application before a superior court raising issues of bias, the court below would at least wait for the supervisory jurisdiction which is being invoked to be considered and determined before dealing with the matter before him. All in the interest of fairness and justice. Are we experiencing that in all situations? I beg to say that no. So, Mr. Speaker, if we are calling for a fair society, then it shouldn't be.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes, sir.
With all due respect, that is not automatic. Looking at the practice and procedure in CI 47, you have a right to put in an application for stay of proceedings pending the determination of the matter at the court above.
What does social justice mean? Speaker, it means the opportunity to have equal rights, economic, political, religious, cultural, and the law. Speaker, it therefore becomes a barometer by which every government or every nation's governance structure and systems are measured. And leaving the generals to the specifics, of course we will measure our governance structure back home by invoking these very indices. Speaker, yours truly, at variance with social justice. My residential home under construction, it was pulled down by operatives of government. There was no social justice, no court order, no court process. Somebody just exercised executive power of state arbitrarily. Speaker, my own uncle, the Venerable Hodari Okan, he was unfairly dismissed, fairly terminated from Ghana Immigration Service, and he proceeded to court. He obtained judgment. It took so long for the judgment there to be paid to him. There was no social justice. There was not. Mr. Speaker, there are members on this side. Just a couple of months ago, who were here. Their homes were raided by operatives of the state without recourse to law. That was no social justice. Mr. Speaker, social